Hello, hello. Hi. Another day, another summit. We're rounding up now. It's almost through. It's almost over. So what can I say? Today again, we're gonna have a pack full of ladies, just ladies. I'm so happy about that. I'm so glad. So once again, I'm Aisha Chiruma Abdullahi, an architect, and Teresa is coming in as well. That's my co-host from South Africa, as well as we're gonna have Samista Jugwanth. She is a water engineer with a lot on her plate. So she's going to tell you about herself and what she does. So yeah, please stay tuned. Hello. Hi. So good to have you all on board. So
Hi.
yeah, hi. So we have a new exception to the group. That's a new speaker. So we have Mr. Jukwan. So hi, Samista. How are you today?
Hi. I'm
Hi.
well, thanks. And you, Aisha?
Not bad, thank you. Not bad.
Hi. Teresa.
So yeah, I already introduced you. So could you tell us about what you do?
Okay. I'm a water engineer. I specialize in mainly wastewater treatment, but over the last 12 years, I've done various things from pump stations to wet services, pipelines, master planning. I work for a company called Zatari. It's one of the largest engineering and advisory consultancies in Africa.
Oh, wow.
We have,
Hmm.
I think, something like 1,900 staff across
Wow.
Africa,
Really?
and
Where are
I
you
think
based?
something 32 offices. So 16. So I'm based in Durban
Okay.
in South Africa. We have about 16 offices in South Africa and the rest in various other countries.
Lovely.
And I think, yeah, I'm an engineer. I really enjoy what I do. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Could you name about two projects maybe you're currently working or the big project you've worked on?
Yeah, okay. Um, so so maybe one of my most interesting projects was working in Matola. It's a suburb outside of Maputo. We built a plant for Coca-Cola.
Okay.
It was a couple years ago. I think
I
that
remember
project
that
was
one.
really, do you remember that one? That project was really interesting for me because I remember when we went there, the first time we went there, we had it was all grass, like up to here. And I remember the person who took us to the area, he was like, okay, see those pylons? You stay to that side of the pylons, we've checked for landmines here. And I was like, what? It felt like in the middle of nowhere. And I think over the years, as we were building this massive factory, which was almost going to be like an anchor client, the area changed so much. There was so much of other industries and people and houses. And I think it was one of those projects where you really saw the effect of, small economic impetus creating so much more benefit to people of an area. So that's probably one of the projects that's like the highlight of my career. And maybe Teresa, you'll probably also know this. My first treatment plant. Did you remember the commercial one?
Okay, treatment plant.
I think
Waste. It was a wastewater treatment plant.
wastewater.
Yeah.
It was a wastewater in commercial. And I think with wastewater, your very first is always going to be the one that you remember. Because I was completely
Because of the smell.
the
Yeah.
smell and everything. I remember the first time I used to wear overalls and gloves and masks. And by the end of it, I was like eating my lunch on site, forgetting to wash my hands.
Wow.
Like I feel like it changed so much.
Ah, gross.
Nice one, nice. Okay, so Teresa, could you do the honors of asking the questions, the technical questions?
Yes. So, okay, well, you did already start answering some of it earlier with regards to some of your favorite projects. I remember the
Yeah.
one with ABR Coca-Cola, because that was one that you and I actually first met. and there was technical information that was needed about the pipes and the fittings and the flanges.
Yeah.
And then we came through from Eurosteel, and we sat with your guys from Cape Town, yourself, and it was very interesting. So what I want to find out from you is, which would you say was your most challenging project, and why challenging from a technical aspect?
You'll remember this project as well. Do you remember the the southern wastewater upgrade? So that was technically challenging because we were literally building in the coastline. Remember the outfall pipe there was a portion of it on the beach.
Oh,
and
yes,
there were
yes.
metals we were using, especially not just for the pipeline that was going to be buried, but for like the little lug.
One of your favorite projects, and with regards to the technicalities, and what was it that made that project so challenging, and from a technical aspect? Take two.
We had so we on Coca-Cola we had a number of challenges with like logistics, and there were a lot of like sort of people issues on that project. But I think one of the more interesting challenges I've never come across, it was like very particularly that project, was we had stainless steel pipes that we used for inserts for a water structure. And so when you build a water-retaining structure, you often test it to see its water tightness. So we fold this up with, and you close it off. Well, this contract closed it off to prevent evaporation. And when they opened it 7 days later, we found holes.
I remember those.
In the steel pipe. So you had no idea what happened. We had holes
Aisha,
over 7 days.
So what actually happened was they were, and stainless steel, the reason why people use it is because of the corrosion resistance of it. But on this particular project, what happened was when they opened it up to see after they did the testing, there were holes through the pipe. So Samista's team are all trying to figure out who put holes in the pipe, and how did they put holes into the pipe?
Like, did someone give us bad quality material, but it was inspected? It was only there for 7 days. I mean, corrosion takes months to show.
Much longer.
We had all these specialists come take these water samples, and what had happened was that for water tightness testing, because we were in a very rural area, the contractor had been given permission to take water from the river to do these tightness testing. But when they took water, they pumped up some of the mud that was sitting at the bottom of the river. And there were these little microbes that were in the bottom, these anaerobic bacteria. I can't remember. And so and also one of the curiosities about where it was actually feeding was the pipes were corroded or had these holes on the inside face at the bottom of the pipe, and on the top, on the outer face of the top. So you can imagine this where biomass would have settled. And then 7 days, we had these anaerobic or anoxic conditions because, it was closed and there was no movement. These guys got into sort of eating time.
Yeah. Interesting.
No one knew what was going on. It was so weird. Who would have thought it was just where we were getting the water from to do the water type thing.
So it's Aisha, it's known as brackish water. So any water that isn't treated or isn't chemically treated or filtered have got all these lots of little tiny microbes and bacteria that's in the actual water. And what these specific
that's not always the problem.
Always the case. Okay. Because it was in the mud.
There was a specific I think there was a factory upstream or a mine upstream. Very sort of iron-rich sediment that was at the bottom, and this iron-rich sediment bacteria were there. It was very
So that was super rich soil for these guys, and they were
these specific guys
away.
They were feeding on it.
And then And then the next thing, these little bugs get put into a closed environment and they have to eat their way up pretty much.
Right. So if
it was like chow time.
So, Mister, if I may ask, what would you say what is the pros and cons between a PVC pipe and a steel pipe?
Pros and cons between a PVC. So steel, you obviously have the strength. Man. It really depends. So PVC itself also it doesn't have the chemical resistivity as the pipe. So like, I mean, I would, most of the time if I was doing a wastewater plant, I wouldn't use PVC pipes. I would use HDPE because it's more chemically stable.
HDPE? What's HDPE?
High density.
You're testing me. Yeah. Propylene maybe.
So is that going to be like steel?
It's not my speciality.
There you go.
So I'm not a pipeline. I come across pipelines in treatment, but that's not your
forte.
Yeah, but generally, like, I know I use stainless steel in plants where you have things that can be very corrosive or things that can get a lot of vibration, but it's also very expensive. Whereas compared to plastic pipes, you don't have that expense. So when in plants, when we're running long lengths of pipes and things like that, then we'd use HDPE. The other thing about HDPE is it has a thicker wall thickness as compared to a steel pipe. So that's another thing.
It depends on the schedule though. Because remember, your steel pipe, you get a shed 10, you get a shed 40, a shed 80, a shed 120.
I think just like sort of relative to the sort of the pressure that you're going to look for, the plastic is always going to be a lot thicker. You get more rigidity with steel pipes, stainless steel or mild steel.
Sorry, I didn't sound but you know, I'm talking for the audience. I wanted you to say
yes.
HDP is what exactly? HDP pipes are
high density plastic piping.
Right.
I can find the actual name for you. Just give me a second.
No, that's
high density.
He's googling.
Propylene. Yeah, polyethylene. High density polyethylene.
It's so that the audience don't get lost and they're like, "What's HDP?" So I just wanted to.
Oh, sure. But caveat right there. Pipelines is not my.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
The next question. Sorry.
No.
Teressa, next question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you there. My bad. Okay, and then what would you say is the largest challenge that you have found professionally in your industry?
We were talking about this yesterday. I think it's recessions. I know that sounds like it affects everyone, but I think the construction industry, especially, you know, we're very sensitive.
So, while we were being reconnected, a little bit of Google searching, good old Google, and with regards to the MIC, or what is otherwise known as microbiologically influenced corrosion, which attacks various types of metals and materials, and these can be found in stainless steels as well. But it's a type of environment that these microorganisms, it's the, what do we call it? It's the oxidative layer of the stainless that they feed off. And then once they feed off that, it's a bit gross, its excrement is then very acidic and it poops onto the steel and it makes a hole. So that's what happened. And then the holes on the top of the pipe that Samista was speaking about, that is from the it's a vapor caused by the same microbiological creature, and the vapor from it or the gas is also highly corrosive, so it starts eating holes in the top of the pipe. So that's what happened with that particular project.
Wow, in a week, all that in a week. That is one amazing.
Oh, weird. It was very weird.
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it happening as fast as that. Honestly,
Yeah,
I've never heard of it happening as fast as that. I've heard of it over a couple of weeks period, but
yeah,
never 7
so
days.
close.
But
Yeah.
It happened a long time ago. I'm pretty sure it was about 7 days. It might have been 1 or 2 days more, but it was definitely not a couple of
yeah.
weeks.
Oh yeah, no. When you and I first spoke about it, my jaw just about hit the
It
ground. I
was
was
like
like, what?
it felt like it was like about 7 days because I think there was a time for testing.
Yes, yeah. And
Okay,
then,
Teresa
okay,
said
so
next question.
yes, okay. So what we were discussing earlier is we were wanting to find out from you, Samista, with your experience and with the various projects that you've worked on, and the challenges that you have experienced. What would you say could have been done better? What can we do to do things better if you take your specific industry into consideration?
See, the thing is, I feel like I don't feel like you can say something can be done better because at that point in time you make the decisions that you feel
True.
are right. But I think from time, what I've always found value in was including more people, include like never working in small teams or in isolation. Engagement, engagement is a big thing, but engagement is a big thing for a reason. People come from so many different perspectives, and every little
True.
piece of information that you get is it's valuable. Because I mean, in a lot of projects I work on, the biggest challenges are never the technical. It's social, it's political, it's environmental, it's the context you're in, it's logistics, trying to get through customs. Sometimes there are brilliant solutions out there and you just don't know it, and it takes talking to someone else to hear about it.
True.
So I think it's just something I've learned to value over time. Those talks that you have, those 5-minute corridor talks that sometimes you feel is a waste of time. I don't think they're ever a waste of time.
So I suppose that's
You're
something
always
that
going
you've
to learn
learned.
something or think of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
I
good.
suppose it's like
I think
you
that
say
can
it's
always
like,
make projects better.
Yeah, I love that
say that
because
again.
people
Sorry.
don't value people, and then as well, I don't know whether it's in Africa, but generally, you look down on people, or you want to be close knit, and the information not to pass around. But then at the end of the day, it's worth having a bigger audience, and don't look down on people, and you get a better solution to your problems. That's a good one.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think also there's such a focus on efficiency and utilization and things like that, and so we generally, if you're working, you're working. But I think talking and finding out what different people are doing, I think that's also part of working. I think there's a lot of value in that. That's not readily quantifiable.
So it's like by having those conversations as well, you can hear how other people are doing things, and maybe all three of you are doing the same thing, but someone else has found a way that works a little bit quicker or a little bit better for them. And then, you share those ideas.
I mean, now if someone listened to this, I would hope they learn from our lesson, even though it wasn't something we did that was wrong. We didn't not do something. I mean, going ahead, what I would do is I test the river water before using it. Someone can learn from that.
Definitely, because that obviously would have saved a lot of time of head scratching. But it taught all of us a really interesting lesson, because none of us really knew about it or too much about it before that happened.
Yeah, actually, we had specialists going to the sites to try and figure out what happened. It felt like a murder mystery.
Metallurgists and chemical engineers and every type of specialist under the sun you can think of. And then you sent a water biologist that then eventually found the bug.
I think it was one of those. I think it was one of these sort of like corrosion specialists who took a sample to a lab and got tested.
Okay, got you. Um,
The
and
next,
then yeah, so then the next question is, and we often, you have those moments where you're like, oh, if I'd known this when I was younger, what would a
Mm.
conversation with a younger Samista be like if you went back 10 years from now? So back to 2011, what would that conversation look like, and what advice would you give yourself?
Um, Someone actually asked me this question previously, and there's actually a quote, and if I can read that quote to you so I don't mess it up.
Yeah, yeah.
There's this poet, Audre Lorde, and she generally does some very sort of reactionary type of poetry, but in a speech she gave, she used this quote. It was, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid." And I think growing up, I was always very lucky that my parents, they didn't want us to be the same as everyone else. They didn't want us to dress the same and to say the same things. And I think we grew up as kids being very strong in our opinions and our thoughts. And when you get to university and you get to and into high school, you kind of you start losing a little bit of that confidence in what you believe. And then you start working, you're new and you're learning and you just don't know when you're going to know what you need to know.
The little fish in the big
Just
pond.
that quote, yes, and that quote just like made so much of sense. It doesn't make a difference if you make a mistake, or if you didn't say the right thing, or you didn't do the right thing. If your intention is true, it's fine. It's gonna work itself out, and making mistakes are not
Absolutely.
important if it's the right reasons.
yeah.
And I always think about that. I think when you're stressed or you're afraid or uncertain, like if you believe in what you're doing and you believe in the decisions you make, it's fine. It's going to work on stage, and that's in personal and in professional life.
Wonderful.
Agreed. That's a beautiful poem. If you can share it with us, Aisha, maybe we can put it into the comments, because I think a lot of people can resonate with that as well. Where you look at your and mistakes are actually good because you learn from this. And like you say, if you've made a mistake but it was with true intentions, and you've got a good heart, and everything that you are doing is with the best of intentions and the best of intentions at heart and in your core, then if you make a mistake and you've learned from that mistake, and you maybe change your approach, or you change the way you've done
You try
something,
to fix it.
then
You try hard to
Yes.
fix it.
You sort it out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we're so afraid of making mistakes or saying the wrong thing that we end up not doing anything, and that's probably the worst.
In a certain
That's
place,
very
and you
true.
do it because you want to be perfect. So there's nothing like perfection. Just do it. Just do it.
Yes.
Just do
You're the
you.
best.
Do it. Yeah. Are we done with the technical questions?
Yes, Aisha, it's over to you.
So Mr. On a lighter note, what would you say is your biggest strength? On a lighter note.
I think it has to do with how my parents raised my sister and I. I'm an out-of-box thinker. I think that's probably my biggest strength. It took a while for me to figure out that was a strength. I always thought I used to think I was weird. My friends used to think I was weird, and my father used to say, "You're not weird. You're special."
Thank
So
you.
for him was a euphemism for weird. But I think that's my biggest strength. I'm creative in the way I have no ability, like artistic ability, but I think out of the box.
Good.
Awesome.
I'm weird.
It's good. You have to, as you said, you have
We all weird.
to know a way.
Yeah, if you think about it, if we weren't weird, we'll be seriously boring. I know I would be.
Yeah. Not good to be boring. You have to be like, So, what would you say is your
Out
biggest
there.
weakness?
Biggest weakness. Mm, ooh. Okay. So I feel like there's things in us that are our biggest strength on one end of the spectrum, and it's our weakest thing on the other. So the same thing that allows me to look, have an interest in multiple things, and gives me the ability to think laterally, is also probably my biggest weakness, in the sense that I'm not the sort of focused individual, and I'd love to be that person. You know, you can sit down and you can work on something to that minute detail. I'm not a detailed person. It takes it takes a concerted effort for me to do detail. So yeah,
I can relate to
it's my
that.
strength, my weakness.
That reminds me of Owen. He says his strength is
Patience.
patience. His weakness is impatience. So like, so yeah, so nice one. All right,
Funny.
cool, cool. So next I will ask you is, do you have any book that do you read at all? Do you read?
I do. I do.
So do you have
I
any book
think I think I think what I read encourages the weirdness. I tend to not read.
Awesome.
I tend to not read sort of nonfiction books. I am very much a fiction. I read a lot, and most of it is fantasy, science fiction, or there's another genre. It's called magic realism. And if I had to recommend people to
Interesting.
read something, I would say, you know, take a book from there. You know, there's many authors, Isabel Allende. There's a book, 100 Years of Solitude, or House of Spirits. You know, they're classics, but there's something about them that is very humane. You know, it uses all these like sort of like unreal scenarios to really show humanity. And I think at the heart of any person working in a sort of a design function, one of our big requirements is design for the people using it. And humanity and understanding of humanity and empathy, I think, is important. And I think those books really sort of examine that. So yeah, I would recommend anything in the magic realism genre.
Okay.
Magic realism genre.
Magic
Yeah,
really.
yeah. So like House of Spirits,
Okay. Okay, yeah.
or 100 Years of Solitude.
Okay. Okay, cool. So it's House of Spirits and 100 Years of Solitude.
Yes, I think those are the titles. Yeah, I would. But if you're looking for nonfiction, those two aren't for you, because they're out there.
Okay. So on a closing note, what will you say to the youth out there that are unemployed, that are looking for direction, that are looking for a path to follow? What would be your closing remark, your advice to them?
It is a very tough industry out there, and there's no right answer. I think what can be your biggest strength is to keep trying. You know, that like, don't get despondent, because at some stage something is going to give. Just keep trying, and the thing is, you will attract interest when people see how hard you're trying, because that sort of driven and passionate personality, that intention to do something good, people see that, they will recognize it, and they will value it.
Agree.
So yes,
That I do agree
bet
with.
it.
Thank you. You touched my heart there, because sometimes you just wonder, are you doing the right thing? Should you stop? Are you tired? You know? Yeah, just
Yeah, because you get tired, and you keep thinking, when, like, is what I'm doing worth it, or is something going to come of it? It will. It's just time.
it's just a little.
And it's consistency. I think that's something as well that a lot of people do battle with, is that if it's not working, they quickly go and try something else, and they try something else, and they try something else. But if you're consistent, and I'm not saying that you mustn't try anything new, of course you must, but if you are consistent, persistent, and you can show, like you said, if you can show your value and what it is that you could attribute to a company or to an organization, show them what your worth is, and what it is that your value to that company could be, then the right people will recognize that, definitely. So
Yeah.
thanks, Samisa. That was, that's like Aisha said, that was one that touched the heart, definitely.
Because there's a film. I was looking for it. I was trying to Google it if I could find it quick. It's a Tyler Perry movie. I don't know if you watch movies. Do you know Tyler Perry?
I watch all the Madia ones. The Madia ones.
Yeah, I've got it. Acrimony. I don't know if you heard of Acrimony. It's quick one. There's a lot of
Yes. Yeah.
people. They met when they were in high school or something, and they got married. The lady was taking care of the husband. He was inventing something, so she was at it. She takes care of the house. He's inventing and inventing, and he keeps going to this company that he wants them to buy the product. They refuse to buy the product. I think it took like 20 years or something. At the end of the day,
Wow.
the wife thought he was cheating on her again, kicked him out of the house the day that he broke through in the company. And then he made millions because she kept dreaming that he's gonna get her a yacht and he's gonna get her this, he's gonna get her that. And then she thought he was cheating on her, and she kicked him out of the house. After that, he hooks up with another lady, and he has now made the money because she helped him make them. So this lady goes crazy
Yeah.
with him for like so long. Oh, I want to come back, and of course he's not having it because she said she didn't want him. And persistence.
Yeah.
And he got there, and he made
And
crazy.
it's sad though, on how the partner just didn't support their husband. They assumed the worst of them, and then just left them. And only when they started making money again, then go be like, "Whoa, hello, I want you back." But it's
Yeah.
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 Ah.
It was a funny story, but it was a good one. Acrimony, go watch it. Nice.
What's it called?
I think I watched a trailer and I wanted to watch it. Acrimony.
Acrimony.
Acrimony. Okay.
All
Tyler
right.
Perry's movies are always very
Yeah.
clever.
They're always wonderful. They're always awesome. Like they have a totally different storyline. It's not normal. It's not normal.
Yeah.
All right. So nice having
But I feel
you.
you either like it or you don't.
Sorry.
So you're saying with Tyler Perry, you either like his movies or you don't. Like
Oh, you
I
don't.
like his movies.
Yes. Yeah. So nice to have you, Samista, and my co-host Teressa. You're doing splendid.
Oh,
So
thank you.
so lovely. So all the
I think we're getting a little bit of practice.
yeah, it's getting easier. All right, now take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Samista, thank you so much for
Bye.
coming through. Thank you. Bye.
It's a
Bye,
pleasure.
Aisha.
Bye.